Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Good evening, Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper here with Matt Baiamonte, and it's rivalry week. Yes, BYU and Utah back again, and now it takes on a power conference stage. We've got a loaded hour for you coming up where we're going to be breaking down this matchup. Saturday night, BYU and Utah, 8:15 kick right here on KSL News Radio. And Matt, it takes on a power conference stage, BYU and Utah. It's going to be some big-time stuff here.
You almost forget how much fun this week is, Mitch. It's been so long, and the dynamic has been weird for so long with them not being in the same conference. Now they're conference foes, and it just feels right. It feels so good to have this game, and it has meaning, significant meaning, especially after what happened this weekend in the Big 12 Conference.
On a week like this, BYU and Utah, the fans are so critical to this rivalry. I mean, they are part of the fabric of what makes this rivalry one of the best in college sports, and we want to hear from you, Cougar Nation, throughout the hour. How confident are you that this 8-0, number 9 ranked BYU team will beat 4-4 Utah this week? 801-575-8255. That's 801-575-8255. We'll take your phone calls coming up a little bit later. But, Matt, as we dive into this matchup and start things off, how are you feeling about this game? How confident are you that this undefeated BYU squad will take down the Utes?
I'm only mildly confident, and I don't know if I've just been scarred from the past, Mitch, or what, but I just feel like, especially with the quarterback situation, I know Utah's quarterbacks have not played well, but it's uncertain who's going to play. I have a hunch who's going to play, but I could very well be wrong. You never know in this game, and BYU is a better football team. They're better in all three phases of the game, but this rivalry game, man, it does some weird things as we've seen in the past. And so I'm confident that BYU can win, but just mildly.
The game does create some wild fourth quarter, into the game outcomes that are wild, but I'm very confident going into this one, and the reason for that is because I've just got questions about the fight in this Utah team. This is not a typical pesky underdog Utah team that's on the climb. This was a season where it was playoff or bust, and they're 4-4. They're reeling, and they haven't lost to the world beaters in the Big 12. They've lost to the likes of Arizona. They lost to Houston, and I know Houston's playing a lot better football as of late, but still, they are not losing to the best teams in this conference. I question kind of, what does Utah turn to as the reason to give them the confidence going into a matchup against BYU, who is on the complete opposite end of the confidence, where it doesn't matter what's stacked in front of BYU. The Cougars feel like they can overcome anything and come away victorious. They've done that at every turn this season. So I come into this game for BYU's chances feeling very confident because BYU is the much better football team. They should take care of business, and no longer is this rivalry game, Matt, an indictment on BYU's existence. Before, when it was an Independence versus Pac-12, it was always, Independence isn't working. You got to bail out of this thing as soon as possible because Utah's blowing past you. Now it's an equal playing ground. This is Big 12 matchup, and BYU is the one that's riding high right now.
This is the first rivalry game, Mitch, that we will experience in this new era of college football. Not only the playoff era, but also the NIL era and the unlimited transfer era. And I think it's a good point that you make, which is it's assumed that because it's a rivalry game, it doesn't matter what type of season you're having, you're going to get up for it and you're going to respond and you're rally for the university. But in today's college football, there's not much incentive for the player to be rah-rah, name on the front of my chest, because everything that we tell these kids is get as much money as you can, transfer to the best situations you can. You don't need to battle through adversity. And there's some exceptions to this. I think BYU is an exception to this. They have a tremendous culture. And the fact that they were able to bring so many players back from a season last year in which they were a disappointment. Not going to a bowl game, that was not the season they wanted to have. They retained a lot of those players, and you're seeing that chemistry and continuity pay big dividends. I don't know. I'm curious to see that part of it, because there's a part of me that thinks Utah is not going to get up for it because that's just college football in today's day and age. Earlier today I couldn't believe this, Mitch. There was a player on South Carolina's football team that committed to Kansas's football team, and we're in the middle of the season. This commitment's for next year. So I think it's hard to manufacture this, I'm going to play for the university, I'm going to play for the fans. I'm not saying that won't happen. It's just we've never seen it in this era, and I'm curious how Utah's going to respond because this is the type of game where if it goes south early, if BYU can punch them in the mouth early, get up 7-0, 10-0, you could see this Utah team fold.
You definitely can't manufacture it, but you can definitely, if you're the coaching staffs, which both staffs have a lot of experience with this rivalry, you can educate the players on what this game means. And this was Kalani Sitake earlier today on what this game means and how he's approaching it with his team.
The fans themselves have already educated our players on how important this game is. But, for us as a coaching staff, we have to get back to the basics. And it doesn't really matter who's on the other side. We've got to – there's a lot of things that we can do differently and do better as a team first before we can start really worrying about the drama and the emotions that go into the game.
It's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday night. First trip to Salt Lake for BYU at Rice-Eccles since 2018, Matt. And I think whenever I think of these games on the road against Utah, one of the things that always stands out is you've got to avoid the turnovers. And I feel like if BYU does that, they're going to be pretty happy with the outcome on Saturday night.
That's the big storyline, and that's been kind of the through line throughout some of these losses in the past decade or so. It's just disastrous turnovers that change football games. And I think that's another reason I'm a little concerned, Mitch, is Jake Retzlaff has improved. This offense has improved. They're playing some of their best football of the year. However, turnovers have been a problem in the past. And if BYU is going to lose this game, I think you're going to look at that turnover line, and BYU might be -2, meaning they have 2 turnovers given to Utah, and that's really the only way I see the Utes winning this football game.
Here's Jake on the environment he's expecting at Rice-Eccles Stadium on Saturday night.
It's going to be fun. We know that place is super hostile, especially when we go up there, and so we're super excited for it. It's obviously going to be another test, and it's going to be another tough game, and especially up there, it gets a little tougher.
Kind of crazy, Matt, to think that BYU has not won at Rice-Eccles Stadium since 2006. That was Beck to Harleen. Now, granted, there's only
Put him in the books, the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year.
Ralph Sokolowski still screaming through the speakers on that one. Granted, there's only been 5 meetings in Salt Lake since, but there's been a lot of heartbreak up in Rice-Eccles. So I think that's one of the reasons maybe that could be causing some fans and people to feel a little bit concerned. But I got to say, Matt, that this BYU team, what you've grown to know about BYU football in the past, it just doesn't seem to apply to this group. This group just seems like they are completely built different, whether it's Florida games, 2 time zones, it's day games. It doesn't matter to these guys. They just show up, and they always give you an answer when you feel like they need one. I'm pretty confident, again, in how BYU should feel going into this game.
This show is called Cougar Nation. It's a show for you, BYU fans, to call in, share your thoughts. It's not every day, though, Mitch, that we have an opponent call in to share his thoughts. We have a diehard Ute fan on the line. He's going by the name Anonymous, but let's bring him in. What do you think about this matchup, Utes and Cougs? Are you there?
All right. Anonymous is not there. The Anonymous Ute fan is not there. Let's go out to Jordan from West Jordan. He wants to answer today's question. So how confident are you, Jordan?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
I got you.
Perfect. Yeah. To answer the question, and if I'm a little quiet, I apologize. I got a sleeping baby in my arms. I'm very confident, and I'm not 100% confident, of course. I would say like an 85% chance. And the reason why I say that, with this year in college football, we've seen that anyone can be beaten. The biggest teams with the highest likelihood of winning have lost to teams that no one saw coming. But the reason why I have a lot of confidence right now with this BYU team is 2 reasons. The leadership and the coaches, and the leaderships and the players. They're definitely taking every game one step at a time, and like what they say, they're focused really hard. They're seeing it as their Super Bowl. And I really loved one interview that Jake gave. I don't remember where, but he was saying something like, you learn to love the game of football, not just playing the game, but practices and everything leading up to the games and the whole process of the games. And it's that attitude that I think is going to lead this team to being able to just be consistent and continuous and doing a really good job. So I have a lot of confidence they can go down and beat Utah.
Jordan, thanks for the call. We appreciate that. I think there's some good comments in that call, so we appreciate you calling. And we got to take a break, though. We'll get to our anonymous Ute caller is on the line. We're going to get to you after the break, Mr. Anonymous Ute fan, on the phone line. This show brought to you by Central Bank, voted best bank and mortgage in Utah Valley. Visit them online at cbutah.com. Central Bank, proud sponsors of Cougar Nation. Again, we're taking a timeout. On the other side, we'll take more phone calls. It's BYU and Utah. It's rivalry week here on KSL News Radio.